Hello, this is Craig from bitsbox.co.uk. In this video we're going to be looking at some of the gaming aids that were released alongside Warhammer 40,000 8th edition. And these are all from GW. So they're on the desk behind me, so let's just crack on and have a look. So here's what we will be looking at today then. So we have the Sector Imperialis, or Objectives box, and we'll be cracking that open and having a look at that in more detail. We have the Tactical Objective cards, the Wound Trackers. I've got the black and bone ones here. The Command Dice, and we'll be looking at them and what they represent. And also the Combat Gauge, which is interesting. We'll start with this actually, so I'm going to put these to the side. So I saw this thing on the GW site. I didn't actually buy it, but Wayne did, and he's kindly lent me his for this review. We have an Imperial side for the Space Marines, and a strange looking Nurgle side. This is made out of rubber. It's bendy, it's flexible. It's also 3 inches across the top, 1 inch side, and 2 inch at the bottom. I actually expected it to be 6 inches rather than 3. So now I know how some of my ex-girlfriends felt. Sorry, I said I'd slip that joke in there. Yeah, I quite like the combat gorges, what are slightly larger. Maybe not so much in 8th edition, I suppose. When everything was moving 6 inches, it was quite handy just to have something that was just 6 inches. But yeah, it's not something I'd really use. We have got actually Bitsbox branded sort of combat. I think they're called combat gorges or gouges. Measuring tools, what have you. We've actually got some Bitsbox branded ones this size and the larger versions as well. I don't actually have them on hand, but this just videos about GW stuff. So yeah, I also expected it to be plastic or even metal. I can't remember how much it is, but I'm sure it wasn't cheap. But this is just a little rubber thing. And the Nurgle side looks awful, in my opinion anyway. It's just, yeah. So we'll put that to one side. Let's get rid of that. So let's have a look at the Command Dice. And I hope this camera angle's alright for everyone. It's a bit of an awkward setup here, but let's just get out. So pretty straightforward with some of these. Let's just separate them. There's 2 types of dice. There's these ones, and there's these ones. These ones, straightforward. They've just got numbers on them to represent how many command points you got left. So let's say I took an attachment. Just let me have. Where's the 3? Let me have 3 command points. There's my 3 command points. And then when I use one, I can just move it on to the 2, etc. Pretty straightforward, and you know, they're quite nice dice. You could actually just use them as actual dice. They've got numbers on them. Bit easier just to use ones with pips, of course. But you know, you could use them as actual dice. Next up are these dice. I'm just going to move the camera down just slightly. There we go. I'm sorry it's such a naff angle, but we'll live with it. So these dice are all numbered again, and they have a different picture on each number. And I do have what each one means. So this one means it's a one-shot weapon. So if you've got something with a one-shot weapon, you can bung this dice on there. And then, you know, it's got one shot with that weapon, and you can just take off once it's shot. We have, let's go in numerical order. This one, a picture of a drop pod, that just means reinforcement, so something's coming via deep strike, etc. Most of the time you'll just remember this stuff, but it's handy to have these dice just in case. That means they've fallen back. Quite handy to have a counter for that. And obviously instead of actually just releasing counter kits, GW just count these dice. It's pretty cool. There's also one for units that have advanced. And you'll notice, if you remember back in 5th edition when GW actually did have that sort of green coloured counter set, this arrow is almost identical to the run arrow from that set. Quite interesting. I think the fallen back one was similar as well. So next up, number 5, if we can find just half a little Space Marine head, that means the unit is in cover. I'm not sure you need a counter to say a unit's in cover, because the terrain sort of makes it quite obvious, or at least you'd think so. If if they still had going to ground, then that's what I'd use this counter for. And who knows, maybe they'll add it to the rules again, even though I'm never a fan of that rule much. And then we have 6, which is charge. So that shows the units charging. Again, that could be handy. Just if you're charging with a lot of units, and you have a lot of stuff in combat, it could be handy to know which one's charged that turn. So yeah, pretty cool. Maybe we'll use them in bat reps in the future. So I'm not going to bung them in neatly because that's not good video. Let's just stick them to one side. And we'll take out the wound trackers. So these are 10-sided dice. All of them are. They give you 2 colours. You could have 10s in units maybe. I assume that's probably what they're used for. Especially for stuff with lots of wounds. But yeah, 10 sides. I think there's a skull for 0 somewhere. Yeah, I assume the skull represents 0, and then of course every other one's numbers. And you've basically got an odds and evens side. So there's your odds and there's your evens. Interestingly, there's no line under the 6 or the 9. So it's a little bit difficult to know which one's which, but obviously because they're on odds and evens, you know that the 6 is going to be next to the 8, and the 9's next to the 5 and 1. Black dice, exactly the same. So you just get 2 different colours. They do various colours of these. There's like reds, blues, greens, etc. I can't see anywhere on GW's site where you can actually choose what colours you get. So if you're ordering these online, it might just be pot luck which colours you get. But they're really nice. I wouldn't have chosen sort of a black and bone, personally, but I still really like them. I'd have probably gone for something more colourful, but no, I like them. They actually do show up quite well on camera. So that's an advantage for us, at least. So next up, let's look at tactical objectives. I think a lot of these are very similar to the old tactical objectives. Obviously, if you've played 7th and you've used tactical objectives, you know exactly what you get. And yeah, some of these things will be worded a bit differently, or they'll be updated to match the current rule set, but they are tactical objectives. And what I like about these, instead of the sort of lift-up box, you've got this sort of little flap at the top. It's pretty cool. It feels quite good quality. And then the cards are inside. Now these are shuffled up a bit because we were going to use them in our previous bat rep, but we didn't in the end. But yeah, there's a lot of defend objective, secure objective, and blood and guts behind enemy lines, witch hunter. Now, a lot of these will be familiar with people who already use tactical objectives. If you don't, you basically use them in the Maelstrom of War missions, and some missions, for example, you'll draw out 3 cards. And they'll be like your objectives for that turn. So score 1 victory point if your opponent failed a morale test during this turn. If your opponent failed 3 or more morale tests, score D3 victory points. Secure 1 victory point at the end of your... score 1 victory point if you control objective marker 2 at the end of your turn. And no prisoners is score 1 victory point if an enemy unit was destroyed during your turn. If between 3 and 5 were destroyed, you get D3 victory points. And if 6 or more, you get D3 plus 3. And we're probably all familiar with these by now, but so they're really cool. I love playing Maelstrom games. They're a fun way to play and just make the game feel slightly different. And that was a really good addition in 6th and 7th. I think they came in during 6th. But yeah, really like them. Really like the quality of the cards as well. Really nice. So there we go. Go back in the box. Yeah, well worth getting. It's always good to have. If you're playing them, we like to have a set each. So let's move on to the Sector Imperialis objectives. These are really cool. We'll look at the box first, because obviously you can sort of gauge what they look like. These are really cool, but I would never actually use them as objectives. Sometimes with objectives you're sort of measuring from the objective, and personally I would, if I'm having stuff like this as objectives, I'd put them on a base, just so it's easier to measure from them. Of course, doing that means that all these will be different sizes. I mean, they're all different sizes anyway. And I kind of like having my objectives all the same size, just for fairness. You know, if your opponent's... Say this is a 1 objective and your opponent has to be within 3 inches of it. I think it is measured from the centre, mind you, but, you know, that could then be a downside because you might struggle to get many miniatures within that 3 inches from the centre. Whereas something like that maybe, or this little thing, just makes it easier. So, yeah, and I don't know, they don't scream objective to me. Like, why is my Space Marine going to go to this little Medicaid robot guy to win the game? What does that mean? Maybe going to get some ammo, you know, that's fine, but yeah, it's a bit weird. But they look fantastic, and they're certainly going to find their way into some scenery. And we'll crack the box open. Oh, we'll have a look on the back as well. Let's have a look on the back first. So there's a Lucius Pan escape pod. I think that's really cool. An Exterminatus device, Orbital Vox Relay, Munitorium supply drop, a Xenostasis crypt, which I think is awesome, the Field Medicarum, or Carium, and Administratum Cogitator Shrine. Yeah, can't pronounce stuff too well. So there's 2 sprues here. You might have seen this online, but if you haven't, you might notice straight off the bat there's like a mix of plastic and clear plastic on the same sprue, and essentially there's like little clips here where they've clipped this other sprue into this one. It's in like proper solid, so it might be glued in or something, but that's really cool. So obviously this is for the stasis chamber. Little window for the drop pod, and the other one might also be on the stasis crypt. Do we have an instruction book? We do. So just a black and white instruction sheet. We're probably being spoilt with so many of the coloured ones nowadays, but this one just has a black and white one. And they're pretty simple to go together. That little thing there actually goes on the bottom of his lamp, or to actually get it in shot. That's pretty cool. I won't actually mind using this guy sort of converting up for some sort of Blanjitsu thing. I've seen someone do it already and it looks awesome. Because I've got a couple of sets of these. I may sell them individually on Bitsbox if there's enough demand for them, and if I can get them from GW, because they're currently out of stock on GW's site. But a lot of things seem to be these days, unfortunately. But yeah, the plastic quality seems slightly different to what you get from miniatures. It's more like the other terrain stuff, where the plastic just feels thicker. It's still got lovely detail, don't get me wrong, but it just feels a bit thicker and it's a bit darker to normal stuff. But the quality is definitely there. Really nice, actually. We'll go back to this other one. Certainly all the crates and stuff will have a lot of use. We like to use a lot of crates and stuff in Shadow War as well, so we'll probably build some up for that. But yeah, really quality kit. But again, I wouldn't use them as objectives, but for terrain and conversions, certainly worth picking up. So that is the end of the video. Just a quick little look at all these stuff. You know, really nice actually. The only thing I didn't like, and that's why I did it first, is this little thing here. Just, rather still use a tape measure. So yeah, they were the gaming aids that came with Warhammer 8th edition. Let's get the box back over here. So I'm just going to make it all look pretty again for the outro. Let me know what you guys think as well, if you've used them yourself and if you enjoy using them or not, especially with the objectives and that. I'd be quite interested to hear how people have found using them in a game. Also, another note on the objectives is that when you play Maelstrom, the objectives are numbered, so you know you have to find a way of numbering these as well. But yeah, anyway, they were the gaming aids. I hope you've all enjoyed this video, and of course, if you have, you can give it a thumbs up. You can also subscribe to our channel if you wish. And we also have a Patreon page you can check out where we send random goodies and have other little advantages to our patrons as well. There's also a couple of videos up on the screen that you may wish to check out as well, including our latest 40k bat rep for 8th edition. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all again in the next video.